Hello everyone, and welcome to this breakdown of 24 plus hours I've spent in Stratholme farming gold and boosting alts since the Burning Crusade launched. There's multiple videos on this farm, so we'll be taking a different angle in today's approach. I want to share with you how much gold I gathered in over 24 hours of farming this instance, and what items dropped and its value in the market. I just made a video talking about the resourcefulness of Stratholme and why it's an essential farm for paladins, and I left out one bit. The sheer amount of room cloth you gather in each lockout is insane. I just started vendoring it all. As a prop paladin main, I didn't consider how cheap dense stone is on the auction house right now, and paired with your own room cloth you farm, you should never be caught without dynamite in your bags for either pulling mobs in dungeons or snap threat if you're using a Sanctity Aura build like we are with No Argent Defender. So make sure to check out the other useful tips in the Stratholme video below. Here's my current gear that I'm using in this farm. The two most important stats to look at and compare with your own paladin are going to be avoidance and spell power. You're going to want to aim for a minimum of 55% avoidance and 300 spell power in order to do 3 pulls in 12 minutes so you can get your 5 runs in an hour. If you're having trouble reaching the 300 spell power, I recommend using Adept's Elixirs and Superior Wizard Oils. Now, I really hate the idea of consuming in order to get a gold farm completed, but I know this will be a necessary evil for some of you guys making alt paladins as gold farmers who don't necessarily have access to Karazhan gear right away. So now that we've established you need 300 spell power in order to do this farm, before we talk about the amount of avoidance you need to pull this off, I want to first calculate the mob's defense level compared to your defense level, and then we'll go into the overall avoidance that you need based off of the mobs that you're fighting. So in this instance, level 55 to 58 mobs in Stratholme. If you're trying to solo boost in Scarlet Monastery, it'll be different, and if you're trying to solo Ramparts for some reason, you can use this math as well. So first off, you're going to want to calculate the mob's defense level, which is 5 times their level. So every level is 5 points of defense. These level 55 mobs times 5 is 275. Now calculate your defense level, which is level 70, times 5 equals 350 defense. Subtract these two and you're left with 75. You're going to want to multiply this number by 0.04 and then multiply that number by 4. This leaves us with 12. Add 12 to the avoidance number that your character has, and that's the percentage that you will dodge, parry, block, miss each attack from a level 55 mob. When I use this avoidance macro in game, I currently have 64.3% plus that 12% whenever I'm engaging a level 55 mob. So I've got a 76.3% chance to avoid all incoming physical damage from level 55s. Hopefully this gives you a better understanding of the avoidance threshold and the difference between defense and avoidance. So again, avoidance is your overall dodge, parry, block, and miss added up together. In the defense stat, it gives you the most value to your overall avoidance, but there's a handful of individual parry rating, block rating, and dodge rating pieces which add a ton of overall avoidance to your farming set, like Flesh Beast Metal Greaves, Endormoose Tear, the Shatari Vindicator's Waistguard, and Iron Scale Warcloak, just to get an idea of some of these pieces with stats on them. So look out for these pieces and mix and match them on 70 upgrades and try to piece together your own paladin farming set. If you want to see how to do that, I'm just going to take you to the website. We're going to create a character. So you're going to want to create, and then you want to do these templates. So you're going to want to name it something. You want to go protection, phase 1, whatever phase you're in. And these equivalency points are going to help you find the gear that you need. So you want to use presets of protection, the avoidance and threat presets. So go ahead and add that, and then we're going to add another point with threat now. So as you're looking for gear upgrades, it's going to take into account both avoidance pieces, which are just your raw defense, and your threat pieces, your spell power. So now that we have him, you have this set ready to go. And just for starters, the headpiece, if you're making a paladin alt, you can see what gear is most applicable to you. And so here we've got 2 gem sockets. You can socket with defense or spell power. 29 defense, 24 dodge, so a lot of avoidance there. And the spell power, of course, I'm scanning down here. Maybe this blacksmithing helm. Oh, that's PvP. What would be the first thing you would possibly get? Probably the Oathkeeper's helm. Myrmidon's headdress is extremely easy to get. It's a quest item, and I'm looking at Oathkeeper's helm, 15 defense, 26 spell power, and 3 sockets to add whatever stat priority you feel you need. So this is the cheap alternative, Myrmidon's Headdress, but Oathkeeper's Helm. So you can put together a set, and then you'll be able to see the overall avoidance chance right here. And like I said, try and hit that 55% avoidance in 300 spell power build, and just go through all the sets. And you will see, you know, that Shatari's Waistguard that we were talking about, it's ranked pretty high. But yeah, you're going to want to mix and match here. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Here's my current talent tree, which is the same spec I used to gold farm and raid in phase 1, as well as all my normal and heroic dungeon runs. This build sacrifices Avenger's Shield for Sanctity Aura, and it absolutely pumps. I found Avenger's Shield to be sort of clunky with its high mana cost and slowing of 3 mobs when I'm pulling trash packs of more than 3. And if you're engineering, opening with Dynamite will make up for the loss of Avenger's Shield, and you'll be blasting enough DPS in the group in the long run with the 10% more holy damage. The best part about this build is I don't have to spend the time or gold respecking in between group content and Stratholme runs, so you can sneak in a few strat lockouts in between dungeons forming and increase your wealth day in and day out. Highly recommend trying out this talent tree. You know, I know you might be skeptical about the shield, but give it a shot. Spend a day gold farming and doing dungeons with it. You may not be disappointed. Now let's take a look at the map. This is the route most videos cover. In phase 1, paladins are going to be able to clear this area in 3 pulls in under 12 minutes, and they can get 5 lockouts per hour. Vendoring everything, this comes to about 300 gold per hour. I'm currently leveling my alts while I gold farm, so I've got access to a druid and priest healer. So I do a sizable first pull that's solo. I trigger the rat gate right here, and I kill the first pack in this corner, which is just in range of my alts, who zoned in from the other instance portal on the live side, so they still get experience from these kills if you're interested in selling your own Stratholme runs while you're gold farming. This is like the threshold as soon as you walk in the other side, and if you get in this corner, you'll barely be able to get your alts experience. Now, the second pull, I can pass through the gate without it trapping me because I triggered it the first time, and I begin halfway through the live side, which adds an extra like 36 to 40 humanoids who drop, you know, just additional gold, cloth, mana pots, greens, grays, and most notably righteous orbs. And again, I'm really only able to pull this off in phase 1 because of the pocket healers that I have, but in later phases, once paladins have a little bit more avoidance like we talked about earlier, they'll be able to pull this entire side and clear it with no problem. So factor this into your gold per hour. I'm just adding, you know, an extra 40 mobs every single lockout. Most of these runs, they end between 9 to 12 minutes, so I'm able to get the 5 lockouts per hour, and I spend the remaining 10 minutes running back to Light's Hope, vendoring everything, and repairing my gear. Now let's take a look at the loot. I've got 6 hourly lockouts worth of loot laid out, and I want to show you guys the stats of what dropped every 5 runs. So this first hour, I received 125 raw gold and vendored 60 gold worth of grays. So I had 185 gold after my first 5 lockouts, just from the raw stats and vendoring the grays. I ended up with 46 stacks of rune cloth, which I sell in bulk at 1.25 gold per stack on my server right now. I can get rid of it pretty quickly, considering I get 50 stacks of rune cloth an hour. I can't get rid of this stuff fast enough. So I might be able to make a little bit more gold if I play the auction house, but I'd rather just run more Stratholme runs than mess around with the auction house. That's just me. The second thing that dropped was these Ichors of Undeath. They vendor 43 of them. They vendor for a gold, 72 silver. This is used for a few niche recipes. You're going to acquire so much of this, it's basically vendor trash. 169 bone fragments. This vendored for 3 gold, 38 silver. And these bone fragments are turned in for a repeatable quest, which rewards insignias that can be turned in for frost and shadow resistance and chance. As a prop paladin, you might have an entire set of shadow resist gear for the first boss in Mana Tombs, Heroic, and Arcatraz Heroic. I've had a lot of trouble with those 2 bosses recently, and I need to set up a resist set, and I would probably put these enchants on since I'm gonna have farmed these bone fragments anyways. Other than that, these fragments are just vendor trash as well, and they stack up to 200, so just a little bit more coin. I got 11 essences of undeath. This vendors, you know, for a gold, 10 silver, 10 each. I got 11 essences in 5 runs. It's used for a handful of vanilla recipes, but nothing too notable. I think the lack of relevancy in TBC for this material, combined with the hundreds of other paladins probably farming Stratholme on your server, your best bet. Again, just vendor these. I got 21 major healing potions. They vendor for 50 silver a stack of 5, and these can be an alternative to super healing potions, but the supers are so cheap and they're twice as impactful. I really like to just vendor these major healing potions and buy the supers off the auction house for like a gold a pop. But as for the major mana potions, we got 7 in this first 5 instance lockout, and as a prop pally I hang on to these to use in my dungeon runs or day-to-day activities. You know, this is a great substitute for the super mana potions when you're not raiding. I know it feels really bad to pop super mana pots, you know, whether you're in dungeons or just out in the open world. So having the, you know, one less than the best mana pot for every other activity that's not raiding feels really good. So you're just able to acquire these while you're gold farming. Star Rubies and Aquamarine, these drop frequently in these runs, and they actually sell quite well in TBC compared to vanilla because of the demand from people skilling up jewel crafting. The Aquamarine especially, it's a bottleneck for jewel crafters. I think it's like 20 skill points. I remember I leveled it up on one of the P servers recently. The Aquamarine is really valuable. They're going for a gold 66 on my server at the moment. I'm sure prices vary. Pristine black diamonds, these drop every so often in my runs. They were needed in vanilla for 3 different Liberman chants, but with the new expansion there's actually a new jewel crafting recipe. It starts at 300 for a defense trinket that requires these diamonds. I don't know if that's really increasing the demand for this item. I've been able to sell a few on my server. There's very little supply for them, so I'm actually selling them for 40 gold on my server at the moment, which is kind of unbelievable. I doubt that this price will stay. Righteous orbs, they're still going for 35 to 45 gold on my server. Melee are still using Crusader enchants just because Mongoose enchant is so expensive. So if it's not like one of your best weapons, you're probably putting Crusader enchant on it. So Righteous orbs are still relevant. Again, I'm sure these prices have tanked on most populated servers. But they are going for like 35, 45 gold on my server at the moment on Blood Sale. Lastly, there's a few items you can expect to drop, which are basically vendor trash in these massive runs. You'll have old class tomes which drop. They vendor for about a gold each. Random recipes for all the professions, including some new jewel crafting recipes, which is kind of cool. I sold a few greater stamina to boots and superior stamina to bracer recipes for 5 to 20 gold each. Thorium and mithril lockboxes, they are dropping frequently in these runs, and I mail them out to my rogue guild mates, kind of like a peace offering. Because I never take them to my dungeon runs, so they enjoy that. You know, I'd be vendoring them anyways. I got 2 rogues in my guild I send them out to. And finally, the old Darkmoon Fair decks, they drop in Stratholme. The cards do. Hoarders, beware. It's a fun game. I'm kind of playing, you know, myself for the first time. I'm trying to acquire a full set for each deck, just as a personal achievement. But you really should just vendor these old cards. The decks are pretty useless, even more so in TBC than they were in vanilla. Now for all the greens and blues, we disenchanted in these 5 lockouts. We ended up with 10 greater eternal essences, 2 lessers, 17 large brilliant shards, 18 illusion dust, and 25 dream dust, with a grand total coming up to an estimated value of 239 gold on my server with the current prices at the moment. Now, I'll be honest, I farm so much Stratholme, I can't sell these enchanting supplies fast enough, and I really prefer to just disenchant the blue items and sell the large brilliant shards in bulk. I actually make a lot of money from that. But as for the greens, I know it feels bad. People are probably going to cringe about it, but I like to just vendor all the greens. Everybody's server's a little bit unique, and I just can't get rid of the mats quick enough, and so I just sell the green items, disenchant the blue ones. But I went ahead and disenchanted everything in this sample size just to give you an idea if you are able to flip those enchanting mats quickly. So once we add all this up, in 5 instance lockouts this first hour, we received 185 raw gold, and the gray items about 20 to 50 gold for miscellaneous items by vendoring, you know, the essences, the bone fragments, tomes, recipes, maybe selling the aquamarine, pristine black diamonds, maybe 1 righteous orb, and some bags, you know, up on the 50 gold end per hour, and then add up, you know, the generous 239 gold that auctionators telling me that the enchanting mats are selling for right now. We come up to a rough estimate of 450 gold per hour or 5 instance lockouts. So I think that's pretty generous. And I tracked the next 5 hours of instance lockouts and came up with similar drops for each run. The most notable averages were 180 in raw gold and vendor grays, 6 to 7 major mana potions every 5 lockouts, 15 large brilliant shards on average, 2.5 righteous orbs every 5 lockouts, 11 greater eternal essences every hour, 18 illusion dust per hour, and 13 dream dust per hour. I found 2 journeyman backpacks and 3 travelers backpacks in these 30 instance lockouts, so I seem to get a bag drop once every hour. Additionally, I got really lucky with the epic drops and got some drops that may not be completely useless and might actually sell for a little bit more gold than just their vendor price. I'm still wanting to farm up my own Skullflame shield so I can theory craft with it a bit, but until then I'll still be on the hunt for one. So that's kind of my own mini game between the cards and just epic items dropping. It's fun to get that dopamine drip whenever you complete a deck or you get an epic to drop. But yeah, we got 3 in these 6 lockouts, which has just been insane in my past experience. So in this 6-hour session, this 30 instance lockout, we did average 450 gold per run. We're looking at 2,700 gold made after I liquidate all the enchanting mats. In the future, I'm just going to end up selling the greens and not disenchanting everything, so I'll probably make a little bit less per hour than what Auctioneer is telling us right now. But at the same time, I like not having to liquidate, everything. I like not having a huge inventory. And instead of posting things on the auction house, just run a few more Stratholmes. And so I'm pretty confident, if you were to run, 24 hours of Stratholme, 5 instance lockouts with 0 hiccups, the math comes out to about 10.8k gold in a 24-hour session. Obviously, there's a lot of variables. You might die, lose time, you got to go to the bathroom, you get yourself instance locked. But if we were to do this for 24 hours straight, it would be about 10k gold. I've farmed more than 24 hours in Stratholme since Burning Crusade's release and leveled up 4 different alts to level 66 just by parking them in Stratholme while I grind gold on my main paladin. So you could sell boosts while you're doing your own gold farm and increase your gold per hour even more. I was getting around 150 to 200,000 XP per hour from levels 60 to 62. And at levels 65 and 66, it's decreased to about 40k XP per hour. It's pretty awful. I couldn't gather the materials for 24 hours worth of farming because I just didn't have the backspace or organization for it all. But I hope you found this video entertaining and helpful. If there's any other 24-hour paladin gold farms you'd like us to take on, maybe in a more organized way, maybe we can use add-ons to help us, better track an actual 24-hour, item dump. Leave a suggestion in the comments below or come tell me about it on stream at twitch.tv/gracefordays. Thank you all for watching. I hope you got the hot hands in your next gold farm. You get all the epics, you get the high roll, all the greater eternal essences, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.